Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hello, everyone.
How's everything been?
Oh, pretty good. You know, another day.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
The weather's kind of nasty outside, though.
Yeah.
So, went through a lot of rain coming here.
Are you still getting settled in a new routine of life with all your
Yeah. You know,
things?
it's
Anything fun happening?
it's been recent, so you know, I can't say it's any different right now. I mean, I'm still wake up early, and
Right.
I do all that, but
I feel like ever since your injury and not being able to work and everything that's involved with all that, and now you're being retired, I feel like I'm trying to live vicariously through you guys. Of like, what's it like to be?
Well, you don't want to live vicariously through me.
No.
Last Thursday, over the last 2 weeks, we've done a lot of brain mapping and some vestibular stuff. And Thursday, I had this 6-hour test, and it's cognitive, memory, and personality. And I basically did 6 hours and didn't even get halfway through it. And the lady just looked at me and said, you have to stop, because I was done. I couldn't do any more. So they had to reschedule the rest of it for Friday.
Oh my gosh!
And
I mean, 6 hours is that's a
long time.
Just the vestibular test a while back, the little astronaut chair and everything in the bed, that was 4 hours.
That's crazy. Wow.
But this you feel like you're going to get a job for the federal government, super ultra secret. They're asking 10,000 questions, and they're phrasing them just different ways and trying to check this, see that.
What is it called whenever you go to work in like you work for like the government or like the police force? I believe they have like a psych evaluation.
Yeah,
where they do that kind of stuff.
That's part of it.
In essence, it's like a personality matrix type of. I believe.
They've added that since the anxiety and depression diagnosis. So I have to go through the personality stuff.
Oh my
we
gosh,
didn't even
dude.
touch that one yet.
Jeez.
So that'll be Friday. They said
right.
plan on another 6 hours.
Well, I mean, Stoney, our definitely our prayers are all with you on a recovery on this. But I knew this was just going to be a long, drawn out deal, and I just. You had a major injury. I
right.
mean, it's some people would say you're lucky.
Yeah.
When did
that it wasn't worse?
When did that happen again? That was in July, August, or was it after that?
June.
June.
It was in June.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was trying to figure out how long has it been since all that stuff.
One thing I found out through all of this, they're doing the brain mapping and they're doing some other stuff. But there's also some concussion protocol. And so I looked at the guy and I says, what are you talking about concussion? This happened 8 months ago. I can't have a concussion. And he goes, we've had people that have experienced a concussion for over 8 years.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what? I didn't know that.
I didn't know it was possible.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know that. He said, yeah, that's why we're going through the concussion protocol for you.
Right.
Because they know there's brain damage, but as part of it, then I'm still suffering from, what would it be, a long-term concussion?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably also they're just trying to narrow down, or they're trying to rule out anything. So I mean, at that point, they're just like, nothing is impossible. They're just
I
don't want a concussion for 8 years.
No, I don't think anybody does. But it's just, I mean, I know it's tough.
Well, I remember when I had the brain surgery, which was 11 months to the day from the accident. Magnus asked the brain surgeon. He said, "Well, could you see my brain? Could you see Mr. Stoney's brain?" And the surgeon said, "Yes." And Magnus says, "Well, did you reach over there and tickle it a little bit?"
There you go. That's good.
And you learn so much about yourself through something like this. And trying to find the fortitude to keep going and plug away. And
Right.
My ultimate goal is to get back to work.
Right.
Hopefully that's everybody's goal, but I don't know if that's going to be a possibility if I got a concussion for 8 years. I don't know who wants to live with that.
Mm-mm.
I'm already sitting here suffering through, possible brain damage and vestibular stuff. I have to, every 6 weeks, I get retested for the balance, the memory, and things like that. And from the last test, my memory was down 12%. So it's gotten worse.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
Did they say how there was a way to help some of that, or is it just kind of
just keep practicing and hope the brain eventually catches up and starts to compensate? But if I'm living with a concussion, then that's brain damage.
Right.
And if I'm with other brain damage, it may just be taking a while to heal, I guess. Heidi, Dr. Miranda could tell us better because she can remember what the doctors are saying. I really can't. But
right.
It's a process. Even when it was just the inner ear stuff, they said it could be 3 to 18 months. I could be completely out. But if it's brain damage, there's no telling how long it could be.
Wow.
And, man.
Well, as I said, our prayers and
I
are
appreciate
with you, and, put that in the hands of God, and He'll heal you.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that.
I feel like it's really interesting that this show has chronicled the the evolution of your situation. Every week, I feel like there's a new thing you're talking about and new stuff, and I'm also glad you've been able to been on the show and help keep this show alive and help
and
keep
growing.
And growing. So
we're still growing.
Yes, we are.
Been awesome. So yeah. But speaking of that, I've done a little bit of research for this this episode. But Jason, what did you? You're the one who threw this out here,
well,
and I never even thought about it, and until you threw it out there, and I was like, I'm actually never. read on this.
There's just been a lot of talk about what's going on in Antarctica. There's been stories and reports and just a lot of chatter. I know there was a picture that kind of got a lot of clicks. That it looks like they got pyramids down there. That this long dead satellite that's still working. That's still sending info.
I saw this one study that they had done in 2017. They had gone and done some core drilling. And you have to understand how many miles there are of ice and snow.
Yes.
There's miles, and to even get to anything else. And they started doing this core drilling, and they got to a point where they found some foliage.
Mm-hmm.
They said that underneath all of the ice and snow, it basically looks like northern Italy. With the way the foliage and things like that are. I mean, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, with plate tectonics, I mean, the continents at one time, they moved around. So, I mean, if you go back far enough, Antarctica actually was a temperate climate.
Right.
I believe, according to conventional science, I think I read somewhere the last time Antarctica was ice-free was about 50 million years
Wasn't
ago.
it Plato who believed that that's where Atlantis was?
Yeah, there was some. Well, no, Plato.
Not Plato. Who am I thinking?
Plato believed that Atlantis was on the beyond the Pillars of Hercules.
Okay.
Which would have been the Straits of Gibraltar. That's where, according to
one of them guys believed.
Yeah,
that
there is some talk that Atlantis may have been Antarctica. I mean. A lot of this kind of started with, what kind of got people going with this was in the Piri-Reis map. I think y'all may have heard about the Piri-Reis map. That was a map from about 1513. It was prepared by an Ottoman, actually. He was a cartographer, and many people believe that in on that map, and that was technically before Antarctica was even discovered. And on that map is at the tip of South America, there is a continent right below it with things on it,
and it says there be monsters.
It's so.
Can you imagine looking at a map and it just said there be monsters?
I just think that So the question then is, okay, many people think that was based upon older source maps.
Mm-hmm.
So if that had not been discovered yet, then how did we know about it? How did these people know about it? Which leads to believe that maybe at one time people did visit Antarctica way back. Some think maybe the Polynesians actually maybe visited Antarctica. But, yeah, I mean, so there's just a lot going on. I saw this video called Antarctica, if I remember right. Antarctica, Aliens, Secrets Beneath the Ice. And it came out in 2019. And I think the producer was Linda Moulton Howe, who came, and she interviewed. There's two former Navy SEALs that, of course, they're kind of blacked out in the video. Their voices have been altered. They did not want their SEAL team number identified, nor their name. They were simply called Spartan 1 and Spartan 2. That's how they want to be known. And their mission was to actually go retrieve some scientists down in these structures. And the video relays what they saw. And they saw ancient hieroglyphic writings on these massive doors.
Yeah, but one of them said it was no hieroglyphics like I've ever seen
right,
before.
It's something completely different.
Because the walls were lit from within.
Right, and they were so massive. They said these doors were completely massive that could be opened with just a finger.
Just pushing it with a finger. That's
how this structure was set up. But, they go in and tell you a bunch of things that...
But you see, I got to look at the smell test on this.
Right.
Okay, so you have two Navy SEALs
Yep.
who said they were in this mission to go do this thing here. And they don't want anybody to see who it is or change their voice. And we don't think the government is smart enough to go, okay, we only sent this number of guys here. It
Very
could
true.
be this guy's. Oh, look, we know you could see their ears. So, you could kind of see, okay, well, it was probably this guy. Let's go get him. So is this someone trying to leak information? Is it intentional?
Well, they say there's alien craft that are coming out of that.
And possibly alien beings down there that have been operating there for 1,000 years.
Right. I think they mentioned that there's like 5 different races.
On top of the fact that right near that area was a Nazi base.
Right. I think that was called, what was that, Operation High Jump?
High Jump, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. That was involved with that. So,
like peeling back the surface a little bit, I very quickly realized this goes from like normal stuff that you can find, like normal stuff that you think you would find in like a frozen wasteland that's been around for forever, into conspiracy theory territory very fast. Like you just said, it could go straight from
all of these topics, that anytime you the more fantastical something is, it's always going to throw up a flag going.
Well, fantastical and unknown. Look how we're always scared of the unknown, and we're always fascinated by the unknown.
And not anybody can go to Antarctica.
Well,
a lot of people don't realize that you just can't just head on to. There are designated areas where they allow certain visitors to come in, but Antarctica is actually governed by a treaty. I think I saw something.
You're supposed to not have a military installation on it, but
right. It is. Antarctica is governed by the Antarctic Treaty System, which was signed in 1959 and entered into force in 1961. The treaty sets aside Antarctica as a scientific preserve, prohibits military activities. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And promotes international cooperation in scientific research. So, just FYI, just some general statistics about Antarctica. It's the 5th largest continent. It covers an area of approximately 14 million square kilometers, which is about 5.4 million square miles. It has population, maybe up to 5,000. Those are generally scientists. That's usually during the summertime, and during the wintertime, it's probably only a handful.
Well, it's a 40 below.
Right.
Even more than that, I believe.
Well,
It is.
yeah, 40 to 50 below with up to 200-mile-an-hour winds.
Right. It's the coldest and windiest continent on Earth. The lowest temperature ever recorded was minus 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep.
Was recorded at the Soviet Vostok Station in Antarctica in 1983. Antarctica contains about 90% of the world's ice and about 70% of the planet's fresh water. The ice sheet covering Antarctica is on average is about 1.6 kilometers, 1 mile thick, with some areas reaching 4.7 kilometers, 3 miles thick.
Well, I think one of the largest lakes in the world is underneath the ice.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing I found interesting, that they are finding a lot of these subglacial lakes, and that one lake, I believe, it may have been Lake Vostok, I believe, if I recall that right. I think I read it was Lake Vostok. That is bigger than Lake Ontario.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's like
You're right. It's Lake Vostok.
Vostok. Yeah, it's like 420 miles or some massive number. 126 miles across, lengthwise.
It's the largest.
What's the
I lost it. It is the largest of the Antarctic. 675 known subglacial lakes. Lake is located in the South Pole.
right?
Approximately 1,600 feet below sea level. I can't find the actual diameter of it. Oh, here we go. Measuring at 160 miles long
60 miles
by
long. That's
30
right.
miles wide.
Yeah. That's
Oh
a big
my
lake.
God, that's a big lake.
And I think it was like 2,800 feet deep.
Jeez, that's crazy. 2,600 feet deep.
2,600 feet
Yeah.
deep.
That's crazy.
That's a deep lake.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird that it's. I'm not understanding how it's underneath it. That's the thing that kind of is tripping me up.
Well, there is some theory.
Yeah.
Some
You're
people.
right.
Some people think it's a weather controlling thing from the ancient civilization or ancient aliens.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you, a lot of this, and I didn't know this, but a lot of what has kind of prompted all this stuff coming from Antarctica is this satellite that is now, it was called the Gravity Field and Steady State Ocean Circulation Explorer. This was a satellite put into orbit, I believe, by the European Union. And its primary mission was to measure and record gravitational fluctuations in global mean sea level. And they used that data to create a global model of the Earth called the geoid, which is basically a hypothetical ocean minus some things. I don't have everything, but all this data is able for them to be able to see underneath the ice. And so Antarctica is like 3 layers of they call, I believe, cratons, I believe is the name they use. You can check on that, Ian. But and this is where they're finding a lot of this stuff. So there are some people saying that the hollow earth, and it's where some of this stuff is coming from. But it's showing that Antarctica was, at one time, there were other scientists that went there back in the day that found vegetation and stuff like that shouldn't be growing there, but they found it. So, take it for what it's worth. You have some scientists back in the before things got all quiet with this stuff, are saying things that the modern scientists seem to be kind of put a clamp on it. So I that's what I'm saying. I don't want to dive off too much into conspiracy theories, but I mean, you can't help but wonder, what's the secrets? Why is everything so secretive?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't understand that. Just say it.
Yeah.
If you found something, say it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, what are you going to do? Freak people out? Oh, we found some pyramids that were not built by humans.
Well, the pyramids there are larger than the pyramids in Egypt.
Well, they're saying they're not pyramids. They're saying they're just mountains that look
that
like...
just happen to be more perfect than the ones in Egypt.
Well, they say that's because the glaciers made them that way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I could see maybe one or two sides being perfect, but 4 perfect sides?
Yeah.
Come on.
I think there's more there going on. But as I said, the video was very interesting. I highly recommend it. You do have to pay for it. It's not free. You find it on Amazon. Amazon Prime.
I just looked up the pyramid mountain in Antarctica, and it does look a bit suspicious, I will say.
Well, it's 41.
I can see that
4,150 feet tall.
Right.
That's big.
It looks. I could see what you mean by there look like there's about 2 perfect sides on it, and I could see them probably, making it seem like the other 2 are. There's probably
there's 2 of them kind of covered by snow. So
exactly.
They look at, if you look at the images from the satellite that look through the snow, it's 4 perfect sides.
It's crazy.
Perfect sides.
So my question then comes back to is Antarctica hiding evidence of either an advanced race of humans, which I doubt, or is it evidence that it's extraterrestrial? Now, according to this video, it's extraterrestrial. And not only is it there are actually, he goes in, talks, he said there are actually portals down there that actually look like, kind of like, remember the movie Stargate? It kind of had that image, but instead of them kind of being up and down, they're flat on the ground. And it looks like water, but it's not water. And you step in it, and it takes you to another place on Earth. Like, for example, there's one up in Alaska that takes you one to Hawaii. Which I found was interesting.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, there are also other things that take you away from the planet.
There's also, and this is interesting that you bring up Hawaii, that, all of the billionaires are starting to build, like Zuckerberg's building a $450 million bunker in Hawaii. But all of a sudden, there's some billionaires that are very interested in Antarctica. And they are starting to spend some money trying to get some information. And I wonder if that's not part of it. Maybe they're looking for this transportation system so they can get to and from their bunkers.
Well, the video, according to the 2 former SEALs, are of the opinion that at some point Earth is not going to be habitable. And believe it or not, according to them, this has been going on a long time. The 5 countries that are involved in this treaty have been working together with these alien beings, and they actually have humans that have been training to go with these other aliens, and may even already have been in on other solar systems. So it was quite an eye-opener because these 2 guys seem to be a very normal, guys that would be like, this is just what I saw, and things that he didn't know, they would say, I don't know that, or I didn't see anything like that. So it wasn't like an attempt to try to embellish stuff or kind of go there, so to speak. It was kind of matter of fact. This is what I saw.
He wasn't sensationalizing it to sell a book.
Exactly.
He was just trying to say,
hey. I don't know what it is. I said, but that there is an actual entrance about 1.5 miles underneath the sea that access this area underneath the continent. And
one of the accesses was one of the things that spurred what Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Exactly.
Was it's a jungle foliage. When you go into this cave, you're going into something that has its own light source, its own foliage, it's everything.
It was, to me, I thought it was, as I said, our audience, you have to take these things. I know this sounds crazy, and I want our listeners to do their own digging on this and to find out what they think is true and what's not true. And but I would definitely watch that video. There's plenty of other shows regarding Secrets of Antarctica. Kind of bringing it back to back to the real world, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Antarctica is losing, I found this interesting, about 300 billion tons of ice per year.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So it by itself, if all the ice in Antarctica melted, it would raise the sea by at least 6 to 7 feet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which would be quite incredible. I believe Antarctica broke off from the supercontinent. I don't think it was Pangea. It was another name. And Ian, you might be able to look at that up when Antarctica broke off to started moving to its location. But I mean, obviously at one time it was probably a very temperate land that had, and then all of a sudden it got moved, and then it just started being perpetual winter.
Well, that
and snow and ice.
The Earth has changed its spin twice, and it's tilted its axis, severely. There's no telling, it could have just flash froze it. That's why they're still finding things. It could be just like a huge super freezer when it hit it, and everything's still there. That would be fascinating.
The one you're referring to is called Gondwana.
That's it. That's what I remember. I knew it.
Antarctica.
I knew it wasn't Pangea, but it was enough because I mean the continents have kind of come together, broken apart, broken apart a number of times.
It says that Antarctica, the center of the supercontinent, shared boundaries with all other Gondwana continents and fragmentations and all that kind of stuff. So it looks like it went through different evolutions of, like you said, detaching and coming back together.
Right.
And things like that, potentially.
Yeah. As I said, the typical, the standard canned response from scientists today said there are no pyramids. There are none of this. It's just a snow-covered continent, and it's been in its present location for about,
Well, the scientists have to work a very fine line. They have to keep people interested enough to fund what they're doing, but they don't want to give up too much information and change it. Have governments trying to fight for it and blow things up and et cetera. So, but they have to keep enough interest in it to keep their funding.
Well,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I know, and you have to be careful with sensationalism, and there's always people trying to make everything out to be a conspiracy theory. But, sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. Mm-hmm. And I do believe there's something going on down there. I really do. And for them to say there's no military things presence going on. Yeah. Matter of fact, according to the video, they're all participating in it.
Mm-hmm.
They're all contributing money to this. So
there was one video I saw that said a lot of our technology that's been coming out since the 50s or 60s has come from there, from inside these cities or these vaults or these walls.
Well, these supposedly, according to this, I'm citing that video again, according to those two guys, there are some of these races that are friendly and want to help us, but you got a couple of them that are not so friendly and they want to harm us. So there seems to be some sort of, lack of a better term, some galactic community that's aware of Earth. They believe we are destroying this planet. And that's why I think a lot of people feel like that the planet is doomed, so to speak. And they're basically have some, according to the video, these aliens, there are some elements and there are some resources that they need from our planet. And so that's why they're here.
Well, if you think back over time, when did the UFO and alien watchers and visions and things like that start? It started after America bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and the atomic age was there. And they believe, the aliens supposedly believe, that that's what's going to destroy it. And how many times have you seen, and if you look at where are most of the alien, the UFO sightings around nuclear silos? Are they monitoring it? Are they watching it? How many times have our soldiers come in and said that the whole silo went dead? You know, there's actual reports of silos just going completely dead. And it's around the time of an alien UFO sighting. So is there some catch between those two things? Are they truly concerned that we're going to blow up this planet and make it inhabitable?
Yeah, obviously they don't want that. So that tells me that, they're trying to do their best, and that may be, operating in secret. And only a handful of people know about this, and they want it that way. Because, the idea of, if you could establish that they've got structures down in Antarctica that are thousands of years old, that obviously far exceed human ingenuity, you have to kind of look at that and look at why all these people with money, why are they setting up where they're setting up. And a lot of this coincides with where these guys were saying these portals that you can be transport, because from like Alaska to Hawaii, and they got them from here. They're all over the globe. They've got several in South America. They got Australia, Africa. They're all over. And so, which tells me there's been this global transportation for a long time now. So it's an interesting, sometimes I don't know what to make of this stuff. We get on these shows and we talk about this stuff, but I think there's a lot of truth there. I think there's something there. When you have this many people talking about things and where are people putting their money, you have to kind of go, people don't just spend that kind of money without there's a reason why I'm doing that.
Well, why is Zuckerberg spending $450 million on a bunker in Hawaii? If there is some nuclear war going on or something, how does he think he's going to get there? Unless he knows something else. Is there some other technology that he has to get from point A to point B, and he doesn't have to fly his Gulf Stream there? Okay? And because if there's an EMP thing, you're not going to be able to fly a plane or a boat. But what about this alien technology that doesn't work on electronics like we do? is that technology there? And they're planning for that. So we said in a past episode that these rich people are looking at Hawaii because it's so far away from what's happening in America and other parts of the world right now. And they are moving the indigenous people out of some of these places in Hawaii to make their own bunker system. And burning it with, fifth generation laser systems and things like that. How? Now it kind of makes sense, because in the back of my head, I'm always, well, if they got to do that, how's he planning on getting there? Now, okay, is there another system somewhere that I only really have to get to this point, and then...
Yeah, they say basically the way they describe these portals, it wasn't like in the movie in Stargate, you saw them walk through and you had like all the stardust and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He said it wasn't anything like that. It was literally, I walk through and I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm in Alaska, I walk through the deal and boom, I'm in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it was an instantaneous transport. The same with going off world.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It's step off, I'm there. And they, you also hear a lot when it comes to this stuff about the dark side of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they said they are there also. And that's where a lot of the transports are occurring from Antarctica to the dark side of the moon. Why you never see pictures? Why they never talk about the dark side of the moon? You ever find that interesting? So, it's people out there are probably laughing, sitting there going, "Yes, ain't none of this is serious." But you got to think maybe in your back of your mind, there's got to be something to it.
If they're spending this kind of money on
there's got to be something.
There's got to be something to it.
Which to me, I find it interesting that everybody wants to move to Hawaii. And then I sit there and I watch a video that there's a portal in Hawaii.
Right.
I find, I didn't even know that. Did not know that. And all of a sudden now I'm starting to think, I wonder if important people are being strategically placed to be able to jump if they have to jump.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of us, well, we're
just screwed.
We're doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, based on what I was getting out of the video, is the reason this is happening is because these aliens do not believe the planet is going to become uninhabitable. Now, what that means, I don't know. I don't know if it's runaway climate. I don't know if it's a natural disaster. It's a bolide impact. Something is going to make this planet a very difficult place. And some would say that the Earth has gone through cycles of destruction.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've proven that with other drill things that they put into the ice in the world.
Because this was brought up also in the video. And it's funny, I'm listening to this video, and this is kind of matching up with other things I've heard. The idea of, we associate with Noah's flood and everything that happened there.
Well, every civilization has a Noah's flood story. Basically, it's told a little differently, but each civilization has one.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So they're saying these alien beings say, yeah, this is kind of the natural kind of cycle of the planet. And the planet does this when it has to basically protect itself. So in essence, the planet, is alive.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
It does this to fix what humans are doing to it.
I don't think it's what humans are doing to it. I disagree with that. I don't think humans are so hubris and so narcissistic and arrogant that we believe we can change the world. We can't. This has happened many times before. If you look at just how things happen in the cycle of the planet, when the dinosaurs were here, they were producing so much fart that the trees grew exponentially larger, which produced more oxygen. You see what I'm saying? There's a big cycle that happens. It's going to happen whether we're here or not.
Well,
and so it's going to combat itself in a way that if there's more oxygen, then guess what? Then the animals are going to get bigger, and then they're going to produce more fart. You see what I'm saying? Because the trees live off of the CO from the animals, and the animals live off of the oxygen from the foliage. It's just a big cycle. And then you have the earth spinning, and then the axis tilts a little bit, and then this thing happens, and then this meteor hits here, and then you have a big supervolcano take over, and then now you have nuclear winter. I think we have to be responsible as human beings for this planet, but I think we're too narcissistic to believe we're going to change what's really naturally happening anyway.
Unless mankind, if you believe in the idea that mankind develops technologies through the natural world or develop technologies as we do today, maybe, because I mean the story of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
What's the theme? They all of a sudden they angered the gods. And the planet, and one day, the oceans rose, volcanoes erupted, and in a day it was gone. It was wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, I don't believe if Atlantis is true, and there was an actual place called Atlantis with people living there, maybe they developed some technologies different than what we have.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time misuse that and threw the world out of balance. So the world responds to put it back into balance. And that we're putting it back into balance entails these destructive events. That's what I'm saying as far as if we believe that human beings were just not always just cavemen, that actually human beings have been around long enough to actually go from caveman to advanced man, be destroyed, back to caveman, back to advanced man, and these cycles back and forth, up and down. I don't know.
Well, then I would look at alien seeding of the planet.
Well,
and the aliens come in like what happened with the Mayans. They had one of the greatest civilizations ever, and then one day they're all gone.
Well, according to this video, these two guys said they were under the impression that that's how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
That we were
alien seeding.
That we were seeded. That or they genetically manipulated animals already here to create us.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, that.
And then is it far-fetched to believe that an alien race couldn't tackle a asteroid and send it over here to start over again?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's some things they can't fix. I mean, when we think of these aliens, if they are true and they've got this advanced technology, I've never made them out to be like gods.
No.
I mean, they're not immortal. I mean, they're still living material beings. They've just been around long enough to develop tech as if the human race, you advance the human race another 100,000 years. Mm-hmm. Barring some natural disaster that didn't happen to us, just look at what we've done in the short time here. Imagine 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now. If technology keeps going, who knows what wonders we would create. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in that. I've always had the dream of I do believe that mankind eventually does have to leave this planet. Mm-hmm. I mean, because we all know one day our sun's is gonna run out of energy. It's going to expand into a red giant, and it's going to absorb all the from Mercury to Mars.
Right.
So you better be off the planet by then, or the human race is dead. So my dream is always that one day that we can get past our differences and as a collective improve the world, advance the tech where we could potentially start colonizing other worlds. Mm-hmm. I think that's exciting. And if it's true, if they have alien beings that are willing to help us, I'm all for it. Because obviously they've been around a lot longer than we have. Now, I know, of course, that opens a whole lot of philosophical and religious Pandora boxes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just does, because, and believe me, I get in these conversations all the time. I know, like, I'll be first to, I'm a devout Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am someone that believes in the Judeo-Christian ethos of the cosmos and all that. At the same time, I do realize that my information is limited as a human being. It just is. And a part of me is always open to the possibility that there may be more out there to our own physical material world. I ain't talking about the supernatural world, our own physical material world.
I agree with that.
That we don't know about. So, I just think this all goes in line with all the stories. Now the government's talking about UFOs. When did you ever think the government would even start talking about UFOs? They have spent how many years since the 50s basically shutting people up, making people sound like they're crazy, destroying people that may have found evidence. And now, oh, well, now we have to admit, because it's just a proliferation of now everybody's got a camera with a cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
It's just too many stories out there to simply say, well, it's all, you're hallucinating or you're seeing a weather balloon. Like, we don't know what a weather balloon looks like. Really? So, no, I think there's a lot more going on down there. I really do. I hate to say it, I just don't trust the official stories anymore. And I want to believe the official story. I want to believe that our government officials are telling us the truth. But I think our history has...
Well, we're common people. They're not going to tell us the truth because they're trying to protect their own ass and figure out how they're going to get to Hawaii. So they're not going to tell us
Or
the
get
truth.
off world.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Or get off world.
Hawaii's where the portal is to go to the next place. So
they've got. So as I'm saying, it's. It just hit me with this idea of building Hawaii, and that's where a portal is. It's in Hawaii.
Well, that kind of put a couple of things together for me here on the show. I'm like, oh, now I see why he wants to spend $500 million on a bunker that he may not be able to get to. Oh, wait a minute. There's portals around. Oh, he can get to it, can't he?
And it just so happened they're doing all this after Hawaii basically burned to the ground.
Right. With fifth-generation weapon systems and lasers, except for the blue garbage cans, blue cars, and blue-roofed homes. And then there's a video of Joe Biden saying something about Hawaii, unless you had the right roof. Did y'all see that video? Yeah. Yeah, he hot mic'd that one.
Well, he's part of the clique.
Unless you had the right roof.
He's part of
the clique. You burned
to
the ground unless you had the right roof.
Ian, what you think about all this? You're kind of quiet.
It sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, of course it does.
It sounds it sounds way off in left field. Like I'm not I'm not gonna. I feel like I say this all the time. I feel like I'm this neutral party. I'm not gonna say there's not portals. I'm not gonna say there's not aliens. I'm not gonna say that they didn't burn down Hawaii as a grand master plan to reinvent the world, because I don't know. I don't know, and I feel like a lot of that stuff just feels like way far out there for me right now. Where I'm like, I don't know what to believe, because it's like, to be honest, when I look at it, I'm like. When I look at like all the stuff in Antarctica and all the stuff that could like possibly be down there, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a point in time where an ancient race of, human beings were to have colonized some prehistoric version of Antarctica and built something there. Because I'm like, that doesn't sound that sounds like something that I could wrap my head around. I won't even go into like my thoughts on it on Atlantis, because I'm a firm believer that Atlantis never existed. It was just a concept. It was an idea that someone had, like, even though there's been quote unquote pictures and evidence and things like that. Like there's just, I've heard stories and I've done my own research about it. And I'm like, I don't believe it ever existed. I believe it was just a story conjured up and has been kind of tossed around between authors for millennia. And so it's like I get to this point where I'm like, is any of this stuff you guys are talking about real? Maybe. I don't know. Is there a portal that can bring you from Alaska to Hawaii? If so, that's cool. Is there a portal that can bring you from Antarctica to wherever else? That's a cool idea. Do I believe that's real? I'm a skeptic. I'm not gonna lie. I would have to have a little more physical evidence for me to really send home about that. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, the fact that there may be some hidden stuff in the world that I don't know about is very likely, because I feel like every time, I mean, like I said, we looked at the picture of the Antarctica pyramid, and I was like, at first you guys were talking about it, and I was like, that sounds a little crazy. I looked at a picture of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I can see where this can definitely go very quickly into conspiracy territory, because that looks like a very pyramid-shaped mountain. So the fact that I'm like, I look at it, I'm like, hey, I could see where somebody could take that and definitely run with it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some people out there that claim they saw some things. I am a little hesitant towards trusting. I don't blame the two guys, Spartan 1 and Spartan 2. But it just makes me feel like they're obscuring enough of the truth, or enough of like the hard evidence that makes it a little bit more unbelievable. Like it feels vague enough, and it feels like you're hiding behind, you're hiding enough where it feels like I feel like I could go on there and I could conjure up some things like, don't tell my voice or my face or my team or anything logistical about it, anything that could be concrete. Don't give them any of that. Just give them my like made up name, and we can make any kind of story is what it feels like. I'm not saying that's what that is. I'm just saying, like, for me, that's where my conspiracy, that's where my what is it called whenever I'm not, my bias, I can't remember what the word I just said was, a skeptic, where my skepticism comes in. Whereas, like, for that alien stuff that came out, where the guys were in that court case, what was it, 6 months, 9 months back or whatever, where they, like, sat down and were like, here's our names, here's who we are, here's our facts. It's like, okay, now we're talking about some, like, real documents here and some people, and we're talking about, like, we got officials around, and we have things that are being talked about, and, like, what feels like, quote unquote, some, like, hard evidence, where it's like, okay, now I'm in the camp where, like, it's a little hard for me to say, like, none of that's real, when it's like, I mean, there's some people that are, standing up.
I see what you're saying.
Right,
I totally agree with that. But remember, back in the day, it was the pilots and the astronauts who said this, and this, and then everybody kind of dismissed it. So are these two Navy SEALs, like they were, they're credible. Yeah, right. And they're just saying this stuff, and we're going to dismiss it. And 50 years from now, we're going to go,
and
that's why
a lot of times when we talk about this stuff, I'm never on the hard side of, no, it's not real. Because again, like you just said, I am not going to say those two guys that are keeping themselves concealed and they came out and talked about this stuff. I'm not saying that none of what they're saying is real. Because again, those people had an experience and they were able to share something, and they quote unquote, they saw something, they experienced something that I did not. And who am I to say, oh, none of that's real? Because I mean, like, they experienced something, or at least that's what they say they did. So I'm taking them at that, and I'm like, do I believe it? I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, let's go find the gateway to Antarctica and then, find the portals, or something. But hey, if
it was your generation who said let's storm Area 51 because they can't kill us all. So.
Yes, and I was not there on that one because I was like, I'm not going to risk that because they probably could.
No, they could kill everyone. They could, yeah.
Right.
No, I no, and I agree with you, and I understand the sentiment of the more fantastic the story.
Yeah.
The harder the evidence needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I get that. What I think of is people see something truly extraordinary.
Yeah.
They are told this will not be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And being who they are,
yeah,
knowing what they do,
Mm-hmm.
I can make your life very difficult.
Right.
So I have to code it.
Yeah.
I have to give it to you in small pieces. I can't be upfront. I can't just lay out, here's black and white on paper, here it all is. It's going to sound crazy.
Right.
They know that.
Yeah.
They know that. Because if they had never experienced it, they would be the same way as you're saying.
Right.
You know, the question is once you're confronted with that, how do you manage that?
Yeah.
How do you say it to where it's palatable enough for people to give it some fair reasoning?
Because if I simply tell you, yeah, this is it, blah, 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 you're going to look at me like I'm nuts.
Right.
Okay? That's understandable.
Right.
Because it's so far beyond the pale of what we experience in our day-to-day lives and how we understand our reality.
Right.
Especially with our eyes in the blinders.
Exactly.
Especially when we're living our world so tunnel vision with blinders on. Just, Ian kind of reminded me of an old saying, where do you see yourself in 5, 10, or 15 years? And hey, buddy, I'm just trying to make it to Friday.
Right.
You know, and so seeing that far down the road just doesn't make sense. Looking at things that deep doesn't make sense when I'm just trying to do my thing here right now.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm trying to make it and worry about my family and survive.
Right. It's something that, it doesn't affect my day-to-day life, whether there's secret alien bases or there's not secret alien bases.
Yeah.
I mean, I still got to make enough money to pay my mortgage every month.
And then I'm in the camp, and I've talked about this before on this show, and I won't bog this one down with it. But then there's like what I think are real. I'm not saying this is not real, but for me, what feels like a very real threat that we need to watch out for comes into play with like AI stuff going on. Have you seen Sora, the AI generated video platform?
No, I haven't.
It is, and it's incredible, and it's scary because now for what you can carve out 15 minutes of your day and give this AI, Sora, I think is the name of it, or one of the many different versions of it. You can put in a prompt and it can make like a 30-second to a minute long video. That looks real, looks very real and very believable.
They did that with Elon Musk and the quantum AI, where he was saying, "Oh, if you don't make so many million in your first thing, I'll give you a free Tesla." So
now we have things like we have deep fakes and AI generated like people that can look like other people. You have ways to deep fake their voice to make them sound like them. You have now ways that you can make full videos with all that to make it look and feel and sound like another person. So now we're in this world of like, okay, now we're talking about like the spreading of information, and of course,
the Russians thought they had propaganda down pat. Now there's a whole new world of propaganda coming out.
And the thing is, you're not wrong. There is I just recently watched a video of a girl who like is from the Ukraine, who is a social media influencer, and there is somebody. This is what we're thinking that it is. There's somebody that is recording videos about Russia and Chinese propaganda, about how like China and like how China needs to be how beneficial it would be if Russia like that China has Russia as like an ally in some way, and like it's this person that is like she is this girl from the Ukraine. They're taking her likeness and they're making multiple different social media accounts and making all these videos where she's selling products and like hyping up this like Russia Chinese propaganda. She's like, I'm from the Ukraine. I have been, evacuated from my homeland, and now I'm seeing my face online, like talking about the country. So it's like it's this whole situation where I'm like, and I'm to bring it back around. I'm not saying that like these situations aren't real, and this is probably what it's all about, is I'm all down here in this noise while there's all this other stuff up here that I'm not able to,
devote energy to.
Right, because I'm so right now I'm like there is I've been, you guys can be my witnesses to this from the very beginning, that AI AI image generation was getting better by the week is what it felt like. There's ways you could look online now at generation, like the first few generations of like Chat GPT 1, 2, 3 or whatever. up until the most recent version with the same exact prompt, and how good the image has changed in just a matter of a couple years. And so the fact like we're getting to this age where like AI is moving so fast, and I'm worried about what the future looks like with AI. And so I'm like, man, you want to talk about a conspiracy theory that I'm like really on board with, is like, what does the world look like in a handful of years when it comes to AI? Because I feel like it's taken over everything. I knew it would, but now it's in everything. Your search engines, it can be, so it's like everything now. And I know it's the buzzword. I know it doesn't work the same way all the time, but now it's like, that's such a big thing that I'm like, man, what? That's what I'm concerned about. And then we have all this other stuff. I'm like, maybe you're right. Maybe there is like some other things at play here, but.
Well, I would venture
tangible stuff.
I could venture to say that maybe mankind or certain people have been given help when it comes. Like I've always said, the next big jump,
right,
in computer is quantum computing.
Yeah.
So once that becomes scalable,
yeah,
and now you pair that with AI, now you're about as close to, I guess, a theoretical Skynet type situation where now something can become almost self-aware.
Right.
So, who knows? Maybe these alien races have actually, that's some of the help that has been imparted to us, because, knowledge grows, it's kind of like, it stagnates, and then all of a sudden there's a jump.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's stagnate, and it's a jump. And that's kind of how maybe now it's just gonna, it's gonna be more of a, going up. Yeah. Because once they can master quantum computing, I mean, there's no limit.
Right.
Of what can be done.
I mean, like you've said as well, like who's to say that there wasn't a race of humans or something that was, that there was, throughout history, we have gotten to a certain level, and then of course a natural disaster or something has like stopped us or halted us or put us back. There's a few things like that. Like I can't remember what the name of the library was, but that like it was like
library in Alexandria,
right, and it burned down. Like, and talk about like setting people back, because it had, so things like that where it's like, who's to say there hasn't been moments like that in history? Many moments that, of course, things grow, things get better, and then something happens and brings us back down to a certain, a certain point in time in history. You have to build back up from there, and of course it gets better and better. But then maybe this is one of those things as well, like you said, where this is where we're gonna keep growing, and then something's gonna happen probably, and it's gonna stagnate us for a while.
That may be what they're talking about, of trying to, because maybe they know that something's coming.
Maybe.
And there, certain people are being told. Yeah. And they're, how do we do this without basically freaking out the entire planet?
Of course.
That could be. Not saying it's going to happen.
Right.
Don't know.
Especially on the heels of everything with COVID and how everyone was, hysteria broke out. Like that was just a little, if that is a little taste of what would happen if something more serious was to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if people are like, oh, okay, well, we got to make sure our things are in order.
If people know there's some global cataclysm that's going to hit, how would you even, okay, I know a global cataclysm is going to happen 100 years from now.
Right.
Even 100 years from now, people would be...
Oh, yeah.
Chaos.
It would be chaos.
Complete chaos.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there's nothing you can do about it. 100 years from now, you're going to be knocked back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
And there's nothing... Well, life, for all intents and purposes, is going to change.
Yeah. Right.
It just will.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe these alien races are like... We're trying to, do this in a way that mankind just kind of keeps on going. And I'm not saying something's going to happen and all humanity gets not. I mean, as I said, many people believe that the pyramids in Egypt were actually are a lot older than what they are. Mm-hmm. Many people believe the pyramids are not there as burial chambers. Of course, they've never found a mummy in a pyramid. Mm-hmm. Some believe they're energy generators. We kind of touched on that with the Nikola Tesla stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Matter of fact, that's touched on in this video also. Mm. That the pyramids are to produce energy. That was why they were built. Yes. Which I find interesting.
Right.
So, I mean, why you find...
Well, they found batteries, working type batteries in the pyramids that are thousands of years old. Big canister batteries.
That's what I'm saying. They've never found anybody. You know, the common thing is everybody thinks it's their burial chamber, but no bodies have ever been found in a pyramid,
right,
at all.
But they did find batteries.
They found that, so that's what I'm saying. So this idea that these pyramid structures are actually energy, which Nikola Tesla believed they were. So, and that guy was a certified genius.
Yeah,
a little eccentric, but you know, whatever. I mean, the guy had a theoretical understanding of maybe how you can get energy around the globe.
Right.
And that's what these structures were. Now, who knows? Maybe in the process of doing that, some forces of nature got disrupted.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about, or at least there's the possibility that maybe that's what happens. You know, for us, what's relevant for us would be nuclear war. We learn the power of splitting the atom and the danger. It's funny, that's what you mentioned. Now all of a sudden these alien ships start showing up when we split the atom. They weren't too interested
until we can
do that.
Right.
Or if they were just kind of observing.
Right.
But I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, as I said, none of this really matters to the average person that's struggling to raise their family.
Oh, yeah.
Pay their bills. My kids are sick.
Yeah.
I got a health crisis. You know, you can worry about what you got to worry about, what's affecting your life directly. I just think that it's also a perfect cover for these things to happen.
Right.
Because they know people are not. All they got to do is to make it sound a little crazy.
Right.
And that's going to turn off the vast majority of people. And they're not going. And then what we can do is marginalize those people that do go try to find out. We'll call them conspiracy theorists or kooks or whatever the case may be. To me, it's genius. It really is. The psychology behind it is incredible. Because it makes perfect sense.
They're also keeping us, you know, off of it with all this entertainment and football and baseball, and they're keeping us entertained. What did the emperor say? You know, give them the Colosseums and they won't know that they're slaves.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. So I urge everybody, go do your own research on this. There's a ton out there online. Look at this video that I mentioned.
What was the name of the video again?
Yeah, what was that video again? It was Aliens. It's called Antarctica. Alien Secrets Beneath the Ice. Was produced by Linda Moulton Howe in 2019. You have to rent it off of Amazon. But it's a good video. Take it for what it's worth. Is it true? Who knows?
Right.
But at least we'll give you some insights of what supposedly is happening down there.
All right. And with that, is there anything else you want to touch on before we...
Well, we've got a couple of questions for Ask the Mortician show coming up, but if we could promote that maybe one more time. And
Get Offended Together at gmail.com. Submit your questions for the Ask the Mortician episode. We're trying to get...
That should be interesting.
Can't wait for that.
Can't wait for that to happen.
But you can also, any other topic suggestions that you have, send it in that same email, or we have a Facebook page at Retrospect Pod, and you can, give us a little, if you have any smaller, little short form, little things, just say your appreciation there. But anyways, until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. God bless.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us for our episode today. We appreciate you so much. You're the best. Peace.